So I'm having problems with water draining from the top of my property down here, actually from the other side of the fence through here, collecting. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it rains hard, I mean, last year I had about 5-6 inches deep there, and then all this mulch, it kind of runs over here and just get a big mess. And I'm wanting to put artificial turf in here, get rid of this grass, so I just can't have this area flooded. So what I'm going to end up doing here is running a French drain all the way up there, because there's several places along the fence. I'm going to run it all the way down here underneath the fence, and then drain it out over the other side. It's going to come on this side. I could have just drained it outside the fence on that side, just underneath, but I just don't want any water collecting there. So I'm going to then run it underground here, probably another 20 feet. This thing, I just measured it. It's going about 1/4 inch per foot, so it's not too bad. So I can get from this 20 feet, I can get like a 6-inch drop over here in this area, and then just kind of let it soak over that way. So I have this pipe. This is another drain. I'm just actually going to pull this out all the way down because I have some other drainage issues on the top there. This was kind of running, which I think is part of the problem, is that it runs along this whole fence on the outside, and it's causing it to sink in here, and that's what's getting underneath the fence. See, it's actually, if you can see it, it's actually right there, and so you see just the dirt just falls, and I just can't get a good seal. So I've built French drains before. I have this non-woven filter fabric specifically for it, but it takes a lot of work, and it's really not that much cheaper. So to get these things, these are pretty expensive. They're like $70 for a 10-foot section. But they're a lot easier. You just dig, put it in there, and you're done. It has essentially holes. You can see in here. In here, that's what allows it to drain, and then it has this material on the outside that does the filtering for you, so it doesn't get clogged up. The idea here is of a French drain. You have, you dig the drain. I'm exaggerating it here, just kind of like a little tunnel like this, and it's going downhill this way. And obviously, as water comes in, as rain or whatever comes in here, it's going to flow downhill like that to wherever it comes in. I put a drainway like that. But if you left the opening like this, eventually rocks and dirt and everything is going to fill this up. Which you don't want that. So what you do is you put a tube inside here, basically, and that tube has perforations in it, and then you put aggregate, rocks, things like that, all around it, along with a filter fabric, so that rocks, dirt, things like that can't get into it. So you have this hollow tube down there, and it slowly fills up. So as the rain comes in, what it does is it fills from the bottom up, and then as it gets into level here, it slowly works its way down. And so just give you an idea of what I'm putting in is what it looks like. So there's that perforated tube inside, and then all that foam on the outside is kind of the aggregate that keeps any dirt and anything going in, and then that sock that's woven around it is what keeps the small particulate out of that. So this way you can just put right in there. You don't have to do a lot of work. So I started off just like any kind of project, where you have to do is just start, working, cleaning it up. So I'm just getting the mulch out of the way. This is where I'm going to dig that ditch that's going to go down, where I'm going to put that French drain in. So I just have to, like I said, just clear it off first, just so I'm not mixing the mulch and the dirt. Just kind of speeding it up here. And I'll show a little bit where I had to do on the other side work, but really this video is about more this side of just installing the French drain. And so finally, I got all that, and I had to get some of these plants out of the way. I tried to pull it a little bit. I realized that somebody's going to get mad at me, so I went and dug them out. And then I brought the plastic over here, and then just started digging that trench now. I started it this way, and then I realized that if I dug it out and then actually I had to fill it in, further down, I was able to actually work, and so that I didn't have to get rid of so much of the dirt. And also on that tube the drain that I was taking out on the other side of the fence, it also needed to be filled, obviously, because I took out the existing pipe there. So I was able to work that and just later on just put this right into a shovel. But really, I'm just trying to get this just slightly deeper than that French drain that I'm putting in there because I want a little bit of it sticking out. And then here's kind of just a little bit showing how I was digging out the drain on the other side. So I was taking a wheelbarrow and bringing the dirt back. So this was, extra couple hours of work just to get to the point. And I really just wanted to be able to fill in this side of the fence so that I could hold the water out as best I could. I was using like a clay, and I'm going to run this one parallel to the French drain just in that ditch that I'm digging. So I'm having to dig it just a little bit wider than I normally would. But you want that French drain to be sticking out a little bit. So here's just more of me pulling it out or underneath the fence. So when in that trench that I'm doing, I'm getting it just about the size, the height of the French drain, because I want that sticking out, and I'm going to put some aggregate on top of that because you don't want to cover it over. It really depends on your situation, but I want it open so that it'd be constantly being able to take the rainwater. Just a little bit more showing how I was just putting in some boards here just to kind of help block out the rain or the liquid. So you can see I'm starting off just kind of testing out to see how deep I'm doing. I'm going to start it off with just one of these end pieces, and I'm going to put a drain right there just to kind of begin, because that's really where the problems with the water collecting was. So it's not kind of nice. You don't have to do the entire level or ditch. Since these are 10-foot sections, I could do them 10 feet at a time. You want to kind of do a little bit more, just kind of be able to keep a good flow. So I'm just tamping it down, just flatten it out so that the drain doesn't settle anymore once I get it in there. You can see I'm testing it out again. I'm going to be putting that on the end. That's how I'm going to start off, because that's really where the drainage problems begin. And again, just testing it out. Just you don't want to dig too deep and just waste your time having to fill it back in and level it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just as it's gradually over the span that you want it to go down, but get it as close as possible. It doesn't have to be real steep again, because then you're going to be digging a lot. But just kind of give you an example here. I got my level on there. You can see I have enough of a pitch there that any rain that collects in there is going to slowly make its way downhill and away from the problems. And then this is the collection bin at the beginning here. So I got this going. I got a kind of idea of how deep I need to dig. I'm just going to keep working, just kind of showing you here as I'm working down. I have this clay or this hard pack, so I like just getting down close and then just using like a flat blade of the shovel and just kind of scooping out a little bit at a time, so that I'm not digging down, going too much and have to fill it back in and then have to tamp it down so it doesn't settle. If you kind of scrape it like that, it works a lot better, so you can just kind of limit how much work you have to do of filling it back in and tamping it. So I'm just getting on the next section here, just kind of making sure this one was just a little bit not wide enough. You can see it was kind of pressing against the side, but I'm just kind of getting an idea of that I'm getting the slope right, so that I put it in there and it's going to drain correctly. And here showing how you connect them. So they have these connecting pieces, which is like this normal corrugated plastic. That's exactly what's inside of it. It just happens to be covered with the sock and that aggregate type. And you can put this in here and just fill it in. I like just to make do a little bit extra. So I'm going to use this filter fabric. You can use those socks that they sell around that same area. You can buy these and just kind of cover that up in the joints so that you're not getting, over time, you're going to get some dirt in there, but you just kind of minimize as best you can. So I have that filter fabric that I've used, some other landscaping stuff that I had to do, or actually had to make a French drain. So I'm just using that, and I get these big zip ties, and I'm just tightening down so that it doesn't move. Or the dirt or anything else doesn't get inside of that. So I think this is enough. It adds a little extra work, but I think just overall, or over long periods, it's going to keep more of the dirt out of it. So just cut these off, and it should be good to be buried. So this is all going to be buried to the sides with dirt, because it not really looking for water coming in the sides, but then I'm going to put rocks on the top, so the water has a way. And then just kind of showing you here how I put it in here. I got the collection bin at the beginning. I just put a cover on that, and then I run that other drain that was on the other side of the fence. I put that right next to it because it doesn't really matter. And now I'm just filling it in with the dirt. So you can see I kind of dug my way all the way down to the end and getting to the point where I have enough dirt that I can then now bring it back up here, and I'm not having to store it on the plastic or move it around as much. So you see I'm kind of trying to tamp it in and just get it in to hold the French drain in place. But I'm not putting it on the top, because if you seal it in completely, then obviously water's not going to drain in, and you want it draining in from the top in most circumstances. So I'm just, again, got the tamper out here, just kind of leveling it out, trying to grade it a little bit so that it's going to come from that fence, or anything that hits is going to go that way, and anything from the other side, kind of where I'm standing, should go towards it. So any drainage issues should all be moving towards that French drain. I'm just clearing out some of that mulch that was closer to the fence, and then putting a little more of that the dirt in to kind of slope it towards it. And so you can see the white part, which is the sock. I've left enough of it open here, and then I'm just going to put this stone, just general purpose kind of aggregate or stone. I'm going to lay that on top. And so what that's going to do is it should keep out, any amount of dirt or anything else. It would be filtered by the sock, but I like to just kind of do that so that it's a lot heavier than it, and you can just, when you get leaves and things like that, they can just be blown off. And here's I have one more point. So I didn't want to make this 40 or 50 foot section of all tube, and I couldn't get in there in case there's any clogs or anything. So instead of just connecting two of them together like you saw me do with the previous one, I came up with this T, and I'm just going to put, another little kind of collection where any pooling water could come in there, if it needed, or also I could take that cover off and then use it to clear out the drain anywhere I need to. So I'm just using these connectors. They sell things, other collection bins like that, that's made specifically for us, like you saw at the beginning, but just happened to be out of stock in it. So I just had to get some regular the drain waste vent, and then just these adapters that adapt it. So it's probably about the same price, but same kind of idea. I'm just going to use the filter fabric to go over the joint so that there's no dirt and things, slowly collecting in there, running in, filling in, because there is issues with this corrugated pipe where it can kind of get stuck over time into all those little grooves. So just doing the best I can, again, just to try to make it last as long as possible. Just really like the other joint, just connected here, but again, I'm having a drain there so I can have a little bit of extra water collection, or if it happens to be pooling, shouldn't be, but just doing that. Hopefully you shouldn't be running into this. I ran into, of course, there were some roots. I had a previous tree here, so luckily this was the first one, so I just get the Sawzall and a saw blade I didn't really like. They don't really care about that. I'm just going to send this into the dirt and maybe hit rocks or something like that. But this was one big one that I had to get out. Pretty much always end up doing this when you're digging. I used to have a really big tree that was right here, so I had a lot of roots, but it was easy fix just to get that out versus trying to cut it with a handsaw. And then so here's kind of an idea, or showing like one of the bigger collection areas. I'm going to put this at the bottom again because I get some drainage around here. I may want to put, maybe it collects here, so I'm just going to use this, but as a pass-through as well. And I was sealing this. It's really not necessary. It's kind of overkill because obviously this is drain and water's going in everywhere and on the sides, but I usually like to just seal this. And so this is going to be the transition where the French drain comes in, and then you see it's going under the fence, and then it's going to be the solid. Or I think I extended the French drain a little bit on the other side again, so if I get any water coming down the other side of the fence, it's going to collect there. But I have to custom cut this, so I kind of showed this at the beginning of the video. But this is what I was doing here, was just to make it, if it's too big or you need a smaller length, this is all you do. Just cut the sock. I probably should have found a better place to do this than right over the trench I'm digging and just making a big mess in there that I had to clean out. But it's just these styrofoam pieces in there. That's what essentially the aggregate is, that keeps any of the large dirt or rocks, anything that can make it through, or even if that sock breaks, that would make through and clog up your French drain. So it's really just cut the sock, get as much back as you can, cut the corrugated tubing inside, and I'm going to get enough that I keep calling it aggregate, but essentially that's what it is, back enough so that I can get the sock and then make it look just like they had it, where I have some more of these zip ties, so be able to just tie it up there. Again, just so no dirt or anything is getting in there, and I'm going to be covering this like I did with all the other joints with that sock or my own filter fabric. So just pretty easy, trim it. I'm not going to show it again because it's the same as I did. So now that collection area is sitting right there. I connected that small piece, and so now I have it all the way down. You can see how I was saying, I'm digging the dirt and then slowly moving it on the way back, but just kind of showing each one of the connection points or the joints there. And then the dirt closest to the fence is where I have that other tube. But again, if you're just doing a single French drain, you may just have something like this where you just have a single one. So I just added a little bit more of the aggregate. So I'm just doing it like a bag at a time. So, and same idea here, just grading it from either side so that the grade of the ground is going towards the drain, so that any rain or anything is going to fill in, towards that. And then I'm doing it the same in the collection area around here, and just tamping it out, making sure it's tight in there so the dirt doesn't settle over time, and then you get the grading that you meticulously set up to collect the water doesn't end up with low spots and you have more water sitting there. So I'm just going to use this type of the drain that came with it, the top. But again, it's got kind of holes in there, and I don't want to like mulch and other thing kind of filling it up. So I'm going to try as best I can. I have some extra of these river rocks. So I'm just going to cover it up here. And there's going to be trees that go in front of this all the way around, all the rocks and everything like that. So it's a good way to just kind of cover it up. So here's kind of showing you just a somewhat finished product here. So you can see that any rain, any water that's coming that way or draining that way is going to come into the rocks, fall into the French drain, and then slowly make its way down towards it. And then I'm going back here. So I actually coordinated this with the day I was getting my bulk mulch delivery so that I had this just done so that I can fill this in and finish it off, because obviously I don't want weeds and everything growing on that. So I put a little bit of a weed block on the top there, and just kind of a example finishing this off. So that mulch may drain a little bit or move a little bit towards the rocks, but it should be okay. And here's where I ran it out. I'm not going to show you that. It's just pretty much I just dug a ditch same way, but I put hard PVC all the way in there so that it's solid, so it's no longer leaking out from that corrugated. I have another drain here, and then what it does is so that it comes underneath the fence there, and that's where there's a little bit extra French drain, and it goes into that hard PVC or transitions to that, and then it's going to make its way to the lower part of the yard, and that's where it's going to just make its way out, because that part of the yard, or that where I put that elbow is lower. So here's just kind of finished. Like I said, anything that drains in there is going to make its way through the French drain to the other side and make its way all the way out to the fence, and then hopefully get out of this area, because like I said, I was having water that was coming in from the other side of the neighbor's fence, some collecting here, and it was actually going towards the pool. It was collecting down at the bottom of the fence, and so really just trying to keep the water directed, make its way all the way down and away from where I don't want it, obviously. And this is the finished product here. So haven't seen any big rains yet, but I'm hoping I have a couple, but it worked good so far. So I'm hoping this solves my drainage issues.